And here we go as we start Hanukkah in just a few days. But before we talk about Hanukah's favorite time of the year, we have an announcement. Hanukah, go ahead.
Hey, boys and girls, and how are you today? Welcome to Mr. Hanukah's neighborhood. Okay, I put on a sweater. Our temperatures, last week, you guys would love it. On Shabbat, Friday, Shabbat, and Sunday, it rained like to beat the band.
Oh, wow.
And it got really cold. Our temperatures here in Modi'in, which is a moderate environment, dropped all the way down to 64. It was bone chilling cold. I know. I'm sorry, y'all. It's today. Today was 71, kind of hovering. And next week, I saw the long range forecast up in the 80s. Oh no. So it's the classic. I'm dreaming of a hot Hanukah. Just
Probably the first time anybody's ever heard that song.
well, it just came to me now. But while we're in the mode of inspiration, you say it's your birthday. We've got two birthdays in the same family. No, surprisingly, it's not the Connor clan. Shocking as it might be. Have we gone an entire month without a Connor birthday?
I think so.
I don't know. Maybe that's not the case. But someone that you know very well, who shockingly I also happen to like enormously, Daniel Clayton. Daniel, happy birthday, bro. Yom Hulelet Sameach. May this year be filled with brachot for you and the family. And speaking of the family, somehow he and Catesby, I don't know how they figured this one out. Their son, Phineas. Now, Phineas, of course, in Hebrew is Pinchas. Pinchas is one of my all-time favorite biblical characters. That's the classic, hey, Mike, let me hold your spear for a minute. I love it.
Yeah.
He is adorable. I mean, Daniel's adorable too. Don't he takes after his mama. No.
Thank you.
I know where my fish cakes are battered. So I'm really okay. We've got a lot to cover today.
Okay, yeah, let's
go. First, with some very somber news.
Yeah.
We had a brutal terrorist attack in Jerusalem. And what's interesting is this isn't the classic, like the one the week before the stabbing, of some teenager who then decides to play the Israeli version of suicide by cop. This was the terrorist was a 42-year-old father of five.
Wow.
Teacher in an Israeli school who dressed in Haredi fashion, carrying a Beretta submachine gun. Now, we're not talking about, those makeshift guns that, were made in the machine shop. And he opened fire. We had several severely wounded and one fatality. Eliyahu David K. Hashem Yikam Damo, may Hashem and the IDF avenge his blood. 26-year-old immigrant from South Africa. He came to Israel as a Chayal Boded, a lone soldier. His family was not here. He lived here in Modi'in. So the entire city, we're only, we're a small town. We're 100,000 people.
Sure.
And he was a guide in the Minharot Hotel in the Western Wall tunnels. I didn't know him. I don't think I ever met him. Our time didn't overlap there. But the fact of where he was shot down is for those who have been with us in the Western Wall tunnels, when we exit the tunnels, We
Okay.
come back through an Arab marketplace. It's not
Right.
the Arab shuk, but a
Yeah.
marketplace. We've got the Temple Mount on our left, the gate of the chain, and then we continue straight and we reach the entrance to the Western Wall Plaza
Okay.
right there. Now, as you know, I've guided in the Western Wall tunnels 700 times.
Yeah.
I've walked that route well over 700 times. I was there on Friday, because I was taking another continuing education course that brought me to the Via della Rosa, which is right there. So it is very, he was engaged to be married. And of course, his family came on Aliyah recently here to Modi'in. They're about, like in a car, they're about 6 minutes away from where I am right now. So very, very somber. And this is the doing of Hamas. This was meticulously planned because the terrorist had his wife and children go to Jordan on Thursday.
Oh.
So there's a lot involved here. And some of you may be saying, well, wait a second, wasn't Israel working out a deal with Hamas? All of these step up of activities of terrorism are all tied in with one word. And I don't want to go off into it, but that word is Afghanistan.
Hmm.
The terrorists believe if they were able to chase out America,
Yeah.
again, remember, America is the big Satan. We're only the little Satan. Okay. Let's move on to a happier topic.
Well, let me just throw something in here. This is, going back to the Torah portion of last week of Jacob and Esau. Esau represents, in my opinion, represents evil. And anytime that you empower evil, here's the consequences. It's the pullout of Afghanistan, as you said, it was totally a debacle. It was craziness. But what it is, it empowered Hamas and all of those that would side with Esau. And this is what we have. So go ahead.
Interestingly enough, just one other note, last week, just days ago, the UK, United Kingdom, declared all of Hamas a terrorist organization. Not like, well, the political wing is cool, but the military wing. And today I read that Australia has declared Hezbollah a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
After Hanukah, we'll pull all these little threads together. But I wanted to jump into Hanukah to be continued, of course, next week. Just a couple of points that I thought, because I got some notes from people that were trying to piece together what we shared as well as what they've heard from other sources. So what Hanukah is and what it ain't. Okay. It is not about independence. After the Babylonian exile, the Jews who came back to the land of Israel, that was under Persian domination. We were under the Persians, that was Koresh, Cyrus. There were no revolts. We had religious freedom.
Okay.
Alexander the Great, religious freedom. The Ptolemies, one of the segments of the post-Alexander Greek era, no revolts. Even when the Seleucids took over, Antiochus III, the father of Antiochus Epiphanes, what a bogus name, also allowed us religious freedom. It is only when the Torah was forbidden that Matityahu and his sons rose in revolt, and we have the results of Hanukah. Hanukah is all about the Beit HaMikdash, the temple, the place where Hashem said, his presence would dwell.
Yeah.
So, okay, now, what is the American Jewish understanding of Hanukkah?
Wait a minute.
I'm
American
sorry.
Jewish understanding of Hanukkah. I would say they don't.
I love the way you beat around the bush, Mike. I really, really do. Because someone like me, you've got to be subtle. In a nutshell, that's absolutely true. Hanukkah is described, well, first of all, remember, in their minds, it's the Jewish Christmas.
Yeah.
Hanukkah, Rav Kahana, my teacher, and what's interesting is my personal relationship with him was very brief, only a few months.
Wow.
But he created this format for me to understand things. Now, he wrote an article in the early 70s called Down with Hanukah. And he said, if he were an American Reform or conservative rabbi, he would abolish Hanukkah because it's the ultimate in religious intolerance. It's the ultimate. I mean, what's the big deal with not being able to learn Torah? Most American Jews never have. What's the big deal with Rosh Chodesh and knowing when to observe? It's not holidays they participate in anyway. And what's the big deal with pig?
Yeah.
It could be calamari. It could be fried shrimp. It could be oysters. It could be what's the big deal? The American Jewish view is, and these are images that I remember reading and seeing and hearing years ago. Hanukkah, in the darkness of winter, the light of the Hanukah, which they call the menorah, the light of the menorah illuminating blah, 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 blah. Just start shoveling that fertilizer, kids. It has nothing to do with winter solstice. It has nothing to do with daylight savings time. Nothing. The Beit HaMikdash, the temple, the ability to study Torah, the ability to live as Torah Jews, that's what Hanukkah is about. The other understanding is basically like Sesame Street, sunny day, drinking up everything, and it's not about world liberation. There are many peoples in the world that have suffered. It's not just the Jewish people. It's not just the children of Israel. I think of the First Nations people, the indigenous brothers and sisters throughout the world. But this isn't about freedom in general. It's Hanukkah. It's the rededication of the Beit HaMikdash. It's the rededication of the Jewish people to be able to live our life. We would have been happy, sad to say, to continue under foreign domination.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about that. Now, many people just seem to miss that point. And someone wrote to me and said, you seem to be really agitated that the people that you deal with the most, really agitated. And Mike's got that look on his face saying, Hanoch? Our Hanoch? No. That it seemed to really bother me. It came across that it really bothered me that people who claim to be disciples of Yeshua dis Hanukkah. And the reality is, it has bothered me tremendously, but it doesn't bother me anymore because I'm really beginning to internalize that Peep's going to do what Peep's going to do.
Sure.
And I'm not losing any sweat over it. As the nation of Israel continues to move forward in all areas towards the redemption of all of Israel, the restoration of all of Israel. What somebody, in, I don't know, Pocatello, Idaho somewhere is thinking or not thinking or incapable of thinking ain't my problem.
Well,
Ain't my problem.
Yeah, Hanukah, what you're describing is Hanukkah, okay? And that is the whole story that comes about here of Mattathias standing there in front of all of these people, and being, someone is going to sacrifice this pig, and Mattathias says no. It was like, no, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm not going to allow this. Everybody else can stand here, but I will take a stand against this.
Absolutely.
So Hanukkah, though it has its corporate community aspects of it, Hanukkah is about a personal decision.
Absolutely.
That no matter what is going on around us, I will take that stand. This is something that I teach so much about the coming kingdom, about Israel, about the Harabite, about the temple, all these things. It doesn't matter if anybody else is doing it. This is what I'm going to do, no matter what.
I was just going to say, and how popular has that made you? But but it's. But the thing is, when you get that divine message, when that file downloads, if you're a person, a man or woman of conscience, yeah, that too. Oh, I was. I'll tell you about, my English has gotten awful. And again, the problem is it's not like my Hebrew is getting that much better. So I'm actually turning to Spanish. In the upcoming tour in America, I'll be speaking to 2 Spanish-speaking congregations. How am I going to handle that? As we say, yo no sé. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Now I'm going to share another side of Hanukkah that most people are unaware of. And that's the internal Jewish conflict about what Hanukkah is.
Okay.
And I know you'll love this because, we of the Church of Latter-day Pharisees don't always air our differences amongst ourselves. In the Talmud, it's interesting. For Pesach, we have an entire tractate of the Talmud, an entire tractate, a big thing that got all the thing. And of course, the central element of Pesach is the retelling of the story.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have anything like that with Hanukkah. Well, first of all, of course, remember, Hanukkah is not a divinely mandated festival. In the Talmud, it asks in Aramaic, "My Hanukkah," like, yo, what's up with Hanukkah? What's this Hanukkah thing? And unlike the book of Maccabees, which is not in our canon, nor is it in the Protestant canon, but it is in the Catholic and Greek Orthodox canon, we have the Talmud really, well, let me put it this way. It seems the rabbis in the Talmud, again, remember, this was compiled in Babylonia. Why does that matter? Because they really wanted to downplay the war and the revolt and the insurrection part.
Mm.
And then we got the focus on lighting the candles and the miracle of the oil. In our Siddur, in our prayer book, the section that we say during the 8 days of Hanukkah speaks of the tremendous victory and the glory to Hashem, who led us, the few over the many, the weak over the powerful. It's because Greece was the most powerful nation in the world, and it's Greco-Syrian and Greco-Egyptian allies. So there's a bit of a difference. Now, people ask me, so what was the miracle of Hanukah? And of course, I give a straight answer 1 out of every 37 times that I'm asked a question. It's just that
wow.
Well, the ratio has improved.
Your stats are definitely improving. Yes.
There are people who joke, first of all, why did it take 8 days to get more oil? Because believe it or not, they had to send to Modi'in to pick the olives, press them, and it took that much time to get that pure oil back. It's not like they could go to the local Walmart or Ingles and just pick up some olive oil. It wasn't an option. Those stores were closed during Hanukkah. So could that be a miracle? There are people who say, kind of tongue in cheek, that the real miracle of Hanukkah is that Matityahu said something and all of his children followed in his path.
Wow.
And as silly as that may sound, for those of us that are parents, that speaks so clearly, so loud. Now, here's the other thing. You've spent a lot of time, Mike, particularly in the last year plus, teaching about the next generation, the younger people.
Well, I call them the rising generation, but yes, okay.
Okay. Again, I told you I'm losing my English, so okay. Right, yeah. Rising generation. Got it. The Chashmonaim. Okay, the only one that was left at the end was Simon. His grandchildren are known almost exclusively by their Greek names. I mean, they have Hebrew names, but in literature, they're not used. Mm-hmm. And these were the ones that went to the Romans to decide which of the which of the descendants should rule. And of course, the Romans said, let me think about that. It should be us. And in 63 before the Common Era, that's when we lost our independence. Mm. So the Hashmonae family was not immune to assimilation because they themselves went through this experience, this war and everything. You can't pass on something experiential to people. I mean, I'll give you a very tiny, stupid example. My girls won't admit it today, but they used to believe when they would hear stories like about me going to Moscow and staging a sit-in and me getting arrested, they thought that was all a bit of poppycock. It was all kind of, because our parents are our parents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't until they were in Israel on a program and they met someone who knew me from college who went on and on and on. Here, your father did this and he did this crazy thing and he did that. So what do we learn from Hanukah? What's our takeaway now in 2021? Dedication, rededication, wherever we are, rededication, and a focus on us ourselves taking a stand, no matter how unpopular it is, and being able to pass on that to our children.
Yeah. I go back to the Torah portion a couple of weeks ago of Yaakov. He's standing in my estimation, on the Harabite, the Temple Mount, and he makes his declaration that if Hashem will be with me, will give me food and clothing, I will return back to this place, and I will give a tenth of all that I have unto him. And he will be not, in the kind of loosely wording, it says, and he will not just be the God of my father and my grandfather, but he will be my God also. It was he had to go through his own crisis of faith. And one of the greatest gifts that we can give our children is their own crisis of faith. When Mattathias stood up, how many people in the crowd were standing there thinking the same thing? But they did not have the backbone to do something. But what did Mattathias begin? What did he start? Because he stood up, he did something. And that's the key. To me, that's one of the keys of Hanukah, is about a man that stood in a crowd with everybody thinking the same thing, but he acted on it.
You know, a friend of mine from the US asked me the other day, he said, why do you think that other people didn't step forward? So I said, you have no idea of the people that live in Modi'in. Believe me, most of them will just sit back and watch.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, whoa, that's just a little, disparagement for some of my neighbors.
Yeah, they're waiting for somebody else to stand up and do something. And
that's a problem.
Yeah, it is. It is. And this is why we have what we do, is because people are waiting for someone else. Don't wait for someone else. My message of Hanukah would be this: quit looking at yourself through your own eyes. Look at yourself through the eyes of Hashem, who has called you to do something, not stand in, someone very well, B.B. Stevens. He said that our life, and I'll loosely paraphrase this, our life with Hashem should not be a spectator sport. It should be full contact. And that's in building the kingdom.
Totally agree.
In building the kingdom, don't make it a spectator sport. Make it full contact. Get on the field. Be the person that leads others. You never know who's going to follow.
And you know what? Don't wait for the perfect scenario. For years, I put off this idea of going to America to speak because, who am I? I mean, really. I always thought it would be a rabbi, some, I don't know, PhD, some scholar, someone who is a better speaker. And you know what's funny? So Hashem, he made me stop being shy. I know that's so hard for our listeners to believe, but seriously, so many stories I could tell you, but I don't want to unsettle anybody. But I do want to wish all of our listeners a wonderfully enjoyable Hanukah. May it be, and I'll be posting this up. I had a little thing made up by Troy, my media guru, of Be Maccabee inspired.
Cool.
And, this is, for those of you who are wondering, where else am I going in America when I get there? In February, there may be some changes, but so far I am in the Republic of Texas, in Crosby, Texas, then in Austin, Texas, and then the next night in Dallas, Texas, and then the night after, Huntsville, Alabama, which of course is nowhere near the Republic of Texas. So northern Alabama. Then I am going to Brandon, Florida. Then I'm going to Denver, Colorado.
Mm.
Bill and Rebecca Smith, who undoubtedly are watching this. Yes. Dun, dun, dun. And also a congregation called The Way.
Okay.
Up. The topics this time will be stuff that no one has ever heard from me. And I guess if I haven't gotten people to love what I share or to hate me with all of their heart, this is the time that we get to make the choices, boys and girls. How exciting.
Here's the
Mr.
opportunity.
Hanukah's neighborhood comes to you.
There you go. Well, for those that need something to do prior to that, I will be in Blue Ridge, Georgia this coming Shabbat with the Exodus Road Band, with Nathan Harmon, with Tom Campbell, and kind of obscure birthday guy, Daniel Clayton, as Daniel Caseby will be helping lead worship over there. So that's going to be, it's scheduled to be between noon and about 6 o'clock, but 3 speakers and 2 different worship sets. What's the chance we'll get out of there before 9?
That sounds great. Please send my regards to all my friends from North Georgia.
Will do.
Remind them that I'm still alive and sending regards.
All right. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Regards. Bye-bye.